A playable demo releasing soon. Side content explained. Game modes. Leaderboards. We'll get into all that and more right now. Just a friendly reminder to go participate in the Final Fantasy XVI giveaway if you haven't done so already by hitting the link in the description and the pinned comment, because who knows? Maybe you will be one of the 2 lucky winners to earn a free copy of the game. We've got less than a month to go until Final Fantasy XVI releases, and we've got some news outlets who have spent up to 6 hours with the game, and the consensus is pretty strong that this Final Fantasy game will be one worth playing. The demo that the press has been able to play consists of early game sections that set up the story for protagonist Clive Rosefield, with most critics praising the game's new combat systems, and especially the performance mode to best keep up with the fast-paced action at a smooth 60 FPS. Those that played it were enthralled by the new direction the series is being taken in this 16th mainline entry. Amidst all the press getting their hands on the early hours of the game, we have an interview with the game's producer, Naoki Yoshida, better known as Yoshi P, that Square will indeed be launching a demo before the game releases. The demo is slated to consist of the game's prologue, introducing us to Clive during his early years as he prepares for his future as a swordsman. Here it is said that players will experience dramatic story elements that sets Clive off on a journey full of redemption. According to Yoshi P, the demo is intended to showcase the narrative hook of the game and the basic fundamentals of combat, as combat will also play a role in this prologue chapter of the game. Because the demo will showcase a lot of what sets up Final Fantasy XVI's main plot into motion and the introduction of the battle system to players, the game's demo is said to be a few hours long. What's more is that if players were to play through the demo, players can transfer their progress over to the full game when it releases on June 22nd next month. As to the specifics of this data transfer feature, we don't have the details just yet, but expect to hear more about the demo as we get closer to the launch of the game. Regarding the release date, this is what producer Yoshi P had to say about that, with, quote, "We don't have a release date yet, but we plan to release this prologue as a demo so players can test the game before launch," end quote. Now, I want to know from you all in the comments, are you looking forward to this demo? Do you wish it was another section of the game other than the prologue that will be featured? I want to know about it in the comments below. Our next bit of information regards the game's side content. In an interview with Mary Station and other media, Yoshi P goes over what to expect for content during the game and also after players finish it. I don't want to paraphrase it for you, so I'll give you the words directly from Yoshi P himself. Regarding the content in the game, he remarks, quote, "During the first playthrough, there are a lot of things to do beyond the main quest. We have several side quests where you can learn more about the world. We have a feature called the Loresman Harpocrates, where you can unlock more lore about the world," end quote. He continues on by explaining that there are hunts that task the player with locating and defeating a number of powerful beasts that reward the player with rare loot. These rewards can then be used at the blacksmith to forge some powerful gear and weapons, including legendary weapons. He continues on by saying, quote, "There's a lot of side content like that you can enjoy on your first playthrough," end quote. While we do know that there are side quests included in the game in addition to the hunts, we do not know the extent of how much these quests will elongate the playtime. In a previous interview with Famitsu, Yoshi P did state that the main game alone would run players around 35 hours. As far as post-game content, we did learn a few months ago that there will be a new Game Plus mode that increases the game's challenge while allowing players to transfer over their current level, gear, skills, and more to tackle the game again. While in New Game Plus, players can skip cutscenes to get back to the gameplay, which presumably means that the cutscenes during our first playthrough may be unskippable. To add, if a player were to have missed a side quest or did not complete one of the hunts in the previous playthrough, those quests could be tackled in New Game Plus, with the added benefit of maintaining all of Clive's gear from the previous playthrough. But wait, there's more. Upon completing the game one time, not only do you unlock New Game Plus, but you also unlock an extra mode called Final Fantasy Mode. This mode is considered the, quote, true difficulty of Final Fantasy XVI. Final Fantasy mode keeps the same story intact, but instead alters the game in enough ways to make it feel fresh and challenging for those who have completed the game. Yoshi P breaks down Final Fantasy mode for us with, quote, "The story won't be different, but what will change is the level design will be different, the location of the monsters will be different, the strength of the enemies will be different, as well as the order in which they appear. It's a totally different experience," end quote. What I am most curious about is the, quote, "level design will be different." Does that mean the geography will be slightly altered to make the game feel noticeably more different, other than the aforementioned different enemy placements, etc.? What are your interpretations of that? In addition to the Final Fantasy mode being unlocked after completing the game, an arcade mode will also be unlocked, featuring the ability to compete against other players in leaderboards. So that's all we know so far about what becomes available after completing the game, and it seems like a lot. I know the game's combat is similar to that of Devil May Cry and character action games like it, so having the extra challenging modes seems like a natural fit here. But in a Final Fantasy game? I'm curious to see how fans of Final Fantasy will appreciate the unlocked content after completing the game, but honestly, I think this is pretty freaking awesome. Any modes that do stuff like this to extend the experience and alter it in a way to make it feel fresh is something good in my book. I'm just curious to see how well it is implemented here. We also have an insightful look into the game regarding the lack of traditional minigames being present in Final Fantasy XVI. In an IGN interview with Hiroshi Takai and Kazutoyo Maehiro, the game's director and creative director and scenario writer respectively, they tell IGN that the team wanted the game's side content to be congruent with Clive as a character, instead of having him partake in activities that make no sense with him and his motivations, considering his presence in relation to the world and the events taking place around him. Because Final Fantasy XVI tells a story of revenge and redemption about Clive as he navigates a brutal world around him, the developers strayed away from including activities like chocobo breeding, fishing, and farming that are not aligned with his character. Maehiro and his team are aiming to create a game in which Clive and his actions are congruent with his feelings and motivations at any given moment, explaining that he doesn't want players to feel like they are being pulled out of the experience by partaking in activities that don't make sense for Clive. Maehiro tells IGN with, quote, "If something like that happens when you are immersed in the experience, it will make you realize that it's just a game. We wanted to avoid that because we were aiming for an experience that is as immersive as possible. By avoiding unnecessary elements, I believe it really became that immersive game we were striving for," end quote. Because of this, don't expect a wide variety of optional content other than the aforementioned hunts and quests given by NPCs. Now, I want to know from you all, how do you feel about the side content and all the extra modes being added to the game? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to enter the giveaway if you haven't already done so, and make sure to stay tuned to the channel for more updates pertaining to Final Fantasy XVI as we approach its release date. Watch this video about everything you need to know about the game's combat system, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Take care, good people. Peace.